My name's Lottie. I'm going to be hosting this evening with Advaya Initiative, which is run by Ruby and Christabel Reed, who are very good friends of mine. And if you don't know Advaya already, they are an amazing activist platform that does a whole host of different events. You can go to talks, panel discussions, retreats, and it covers a whole host of topics as well. So it's not only this evening. Please come back and see everything else they're doing, because it's really, really some of the best stuff happening in London at the moment. So I'll give you a bit of a background. I've been working in fashion for the last 10 years, and actually wrote my thesis on sustainability in fashion. And yet we're still kind of unaware of what change we can make as an individual or as a collective. And I think that one of the most important things is identifying what the problem is, acknowledging the problem, and also realizing what your stake is in that and what you can do to make a difference. So we've got some amazing panelists here tonight who will hopefully help us to see what that might look like and see what that change might look like. And Ruby is going to be introducing the panelists speaking this evening. So here's Ruby.
So, hi everyone, thanks so much Lottie, and thanks everyone for coming. And so tonight we're going to have the four panelists, Orsola De Castro, Alex Noble, Sophie Slater and Jian Jen Lin. Each are going to have a presentation of about 12 to 15 minutes. Then we have a short break, followed by the panel discussion and Q&A. So get thinking of some questions as you're hearing the talks, things you might want to ask and put to each of the speakers. And then after that, we're going to have some food prepared by wonderful Piccadilly Calf, cocktails by Pensador Mezcal, and Toast Beer, and all their profits go to feedback, and the beer is made from wasted bread. So first up is our amazing panelist, Orsola De Castro. Sorry. Orsola is an internationally recognized pioneer in sustainable fashion. We're really, really lucky to have her with us tonight. She's a co-founder of Fashion Revolution and works tirelessly to demonstrate the true cost of our clothes, raising awareness and showing the world that change is possible. Her own label, From Somewhere, used to recycle offcuts and upcycle luxury materials to produce exquisite rubbish, while Estethica, a sustainability arena that Orsola curated for London Fashion Week, put the capital at the heart of this energetic movement. Orsola is a regular keynote speaker at sustainable fashion events, TED Talks, and lectures regularly in the UK. Tonight she'll be speaking about why we need a fashion revolution. So Orsola, if you want to start, thank you.
Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me. Really, really, really thank you for inviting me. It's very exciting. So you've already described what I do. But yes, I am a recovering fashion designer, and I have become a campaigner and an activist. Fashion Revolution started in 2013 as a result of the biggest tragedy in the fashion supply chain ever, the Rana Plaza disaster, where 1,134 people were killed and over 2,000 people were injured, 2,500 people were injured. 90% of garment workers are female. So really the majority of the people that died were young girls. And they died because of our appetite for cheap, quick, reproducible fashion that's ready at our doorsteps. And so I guess when Fashion Revolution began, the sense was that we've had enough. You know, we want to change this industry. We love fashion. We are all practitioners in one way or another, and we can't bear to wear clothes that are made in misery. As far as I am concerned, it's not so much about whether it's made in the UK, whether it's made in India, provided it's made in dignity. And the thing that shocked me the most about the Rana Plaza was not so much the brands that knew that they were producing there, but the fact that there were so many brands that they were calling each other the next day asking, were we producing in Rana Plaza? And this highlighted the fact that there is very, very little transparency when it comes to the fashion supply chain. It's a complicated supply chain. It's a convoluted supply chain. And it is a supply chain that thrives on invisibility. Do you know who makes your clothes? I mean, if I ask a question to this audience, which is how many amongst you actually wear clothes? So, so you are responsible, and you certainly are a part of this fashion supply chain. Your wardrobe is somewhere in the fashion supply chain, approximately around 3/4 of the way, in between the moment when that cotton seed is farmed to when clothes are disposed of. So therefore, you speak with the clothes that you wear. And something like the Rana Plaza disaster obviously was the beginning of something very big. So Fashion Revolution started as a movement highlighting transparency. This thing's gone off again, so I won't know. Somebody stop me when I've spoke too much. We started talking about transparency. We see transparency as not necessarily the definitive solution, but the first step. It's a little bit like you're going to be opening your door, your front door to somebody. They're not going to know the entirety of what you do, but they can begin to feel who you are and what you are doing. It leads to openness, it leads to accountability. Above all, it leads somewhere. It might not lead to best practice, but it leads to somewhere. So the disasters such as the Rana Plaza, if they were to happen, and many other disasters or issues are arising constantly in the fashion supply chain, and it is via transparency that we can understand which brands are actually responsible and hold them accountable to that. We started with a really, really simple question: who made my clothes? And we sort of assumed that most brands would be able to answer, but of course they can't. And so what turned into a really simple question became a huge campaign. We are now present in over 106 countries globally. Our reach last April was over 150 million. And I guess we've engaged a conversation which has involved everyone, from academics to consumers to garment workers themselves. In fact, for me, the biggest success is that only last year we had over 5,300 producers responding to our Who Made My Clothes campaign with their own hashtag, which is I Made Your Clothes. And these are people that are very, very invisible. We really don't know the people that make our clothes. And for them to have the courage to come out and say, look, this is me. This is my face, this is my job. For us was a huge success. Fashion Revolution is not an elitist movement. We're very much a ground up, and I can feel the swelling. We communicate to our audience in various ways, but everything that we do is open source and everything that we do is free. So this is our first fanzine, which was called Money, Fashion, Power, and we really talked about the issue of the living wage, which is a complicated issue. But I guess we break it down. We don't talk stupid. We talk clever. We have an interesting language. I very much believe that I'm so bored of this sustainable this or ethical that. I believe that sustainability deserves a poetic and relevant language, just as we have at the moment in terms of design. I mean, I'm also I lecture regularly at Central St. Martin's with the BA and the MA fashion, and I can see so many solutions coming out of there destroyed by this language that doesn't really give it the relevancy that it needs. Sustainability is really a complex subject, and I think we should celebrate the complexity. So Fashion Revolution primarily focused on transparency and on social issues, although recently we've decided, well, we always wanted to, but we are moving also to a more 360-degree approach to the fashion industry, and we've been looking at its environmental impact, in particular waste. Confession, I have a nickname. My nickname is the Queen of Upcycling. So I've been inhabiting this space for a while. In fact, since 1997, I had a brand, Exquisite Luxury, blah, blah, in the introduction. So why? We are producing approximately 150 billion, I haven't got a cold, billion garments of clothing per year. That's clothing per year. What about the lipsticks? What about the bags? What about the shoes? What about the hair clips? What about all the stuff that we buy? We're overbuying and they're overproducing, and then we are overchucking. We are really throwing away stuff with abandon. And so waste is now visible. So we actually know in terms of plastic that we produced more plastic in 2015 that from the day the plastic was invented until the end of 2014. So I reckon something similar is going to be discovered about clothing, that we just really can't deal with this huge quantity. So, and we don't wear them, The majority of the clothes in our wardrobes are left unworn, unloved. So we buy and then throw without really appreciating the clothes that we buy. And, nothing biodegrades. Right now, we don't really have the technology to recycle clothes properly, despite the fact that there is huge investment in circularity, and circularity is very much one of the buzzwords right now. We still aren't providing enough, solutions to be able to really conquer this mountain of waste. So we decided to campaign also on this. As I said, my experience, this is it. I was making upcycled collections for Tesco in 2008. We did a best-selling collection for Topshop 4 years running, again, getting them to use their own waste and offcuts. And also we worked with Speedo. So I've been inhabiting this world of waste now for a very, very long time. And I'm glad to say that it's going to be one of the biggest topics that you will see over the next few years. Brands throw as much as we do, if not more. In fact, luxury brands throw again with abandon, showing that in many cases, the products that we value have absolutely no value for them. So this is how we try to convey our message. This is our latest fanzine. It's sold out, but we're about to reprint. But again, everything that we do is available for free on our website. And this is called Loved Clothes Last. And we've worked with some of the top industry experts, but some of the coolest art directors as well, to really show that, you can talk about a complicated subject in a way that is solutional, that is creative, that is exciting. In it, you will find ways of really appreciating the aesthetics as well as the importance of things such as mending, engaging emotionally with the clothes that you wear. And really, rather than hiding under your duvet thinking, Jesus, I have inherited a massive problem, feeling that you are a real part of the solution if you wake up and you decide that you're going to make some very small changes in your life. This is my favorite quote ever. I don't know whether any one of you has watched Feud recently, but it came back in that. And this is what we've lost. And this is what we need to get back. And this is not, it's nothing but a cultural change. This is the culture that we inhabit. You are the people that are living in this culture, and yours is the power to change it on all levels. From, as I said, waking up in the morning, looking at your wardrobe, and thinking intelligently about the stuff that you got, and going into shops intelligently, and thinking about the stuff that you buy, and making sure that you buy because you love, because you need, because you really are going to keep something, but also really somehow taking advantage of the culture that allows you to speak up and be the person that speaks up, because clothing affects 100% of the population. So you are the population. So you can join the revolution, I guess, at any point. Am I talking too much? So this is our latest photo shoot, which I'm very proud. We actually asked people on Instagram, we asked real fashion revolutionaries to come up and say, look, I believe in what you're doing. And they came out in droves. And this is my favorite. This is Luke, the most unexpected fashion revolutionary you've ever seen. But it goes to show that the panorama is changing. Ethical fashion, sustainable fashion, I never use those words because they're shit words, And the reality is that for years, they've given us a really bad name. Like, how many times have you heard sustainable fashion is crunchy, it's not good enough, it's not this? Rubbish, rubbish. It's intimate, it's emotional, it's outerwear, it's luxury, it's everything that you want it to be. And what we are seeing right now is you guys and audiences that are different coming up and saying, yes, I inhabit that movement, that's my scene, that's my story. I want to tell that kind of a story with the clothes that I wear, the clothes that I design, the clothes that I choose, the people that I hang out with. It's a little bit like vegan to a certain extent. When I was growing up, vegan was like, you know, you're not a vegan. And yet now, it's part of the culture that we inhabit. And that's what this is what we all have to own. You know, that we can change this culture and we can make those changes physically, emotionally, in the way that we operate. We work with YouTubers, we try to really have an impact. This girl's called Marzia Cutie Pie, she's the girlfriend of somebody called PewDiePie. She's got something like 10 million subscribers, and every Fashion Revolution week she comes out and she does like a swap or a mending or something. You know, what she does has a massive reverberation. You know, she's talking to 10-year-olds, you know, 11-year-olds. And again, you know, this is a little bit of showing off. Our impact last April during Fashion Revolution Week. By the way, Fashion Revolution Week starts on the 23rd of April, and it'll be from the 23rd until the 30th. Please take part. It might seem like nothing, but you know that for a brand, each time that someone does something like puts a photograph of themselves online and uses the hashtag "Who Made My Clothes," that's worth 10,000 letters for them. So they take notice. And when it comes to transparency, when we first published our Fashion Transparency Index, there were a handful of brands that were publishing their supply chain. 3 years later, there's nearly 200. So it makes a change. You guys speaking out makes a change because brands are addressing you. So if you address those brands and ask them to change, they listen. Again, our new campaign, don't know what I'm supposed to be saying about that, except look out for it. We haven't launched it fully. That's it for me. I'm really, really happy to be here. I'm actually much better at Q&A than I am at presenting. So when we're sitting down there, please get some questions because I'd be really happy to answer. And thank you.